It's going live. The tech team are telling me it is going live. Hey, and welcome to the UKHarvest Training Kitchen here in Donington, where today I am joined by the wonderful Sian.
Hello, hello.
Who is going to cook up a storm for us using some funding that we've got through Tesco's Community Grants.
Absolutely, thank you.
So this is going nationwide and possibly international.
Absolutely.
Through YouTube Live. Sian, what are you cooking up for us today?
Okay, so thank you, Simon. Today we are going to be making a fantastic family feast of a meal. We're going to be doing meatless meatballs with pomodoro sauce and spaghetti. It's a really traditional, hearty European feast of a dish. But what we've done here is that, as you've got it in the title, we've made it meatless.
We've made it meatless.
Absolutely. Many reasons for doing that. Primarily cost. We're really trying to keep our costs down.
I think we costed this when we've done it before. We costed this, it came in at about £3.50 to feed the entire family.
Absolutely possible to cook this entire meal for less than £5.
Very few ingredients.
Very few.
Simple-ish cooking techniques.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flavour is a 5-star.
A total, yeah, but flavour, wow, for sure. Yeah.
It's winning. Good. It's winning. It's ticking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Whilst we're doing this, folks, and you're watching along at home, I don't know if you're going to cook along with us. If you are, fantastic. Join the ride. Let's go for it. But whilst you're doing it, if you are just watching, if you just pop anything in the comments box that you want to, whether that be how you heard about this today, whether it be through UKHarvest or through Tesco, wherever you heard about it from, what you'd like to see from any further sessions that we do, that would be pretty cool.
We've got a couple more dates in the diary already for live cook-alongs for the next month or two. So yeah, after today, if you have fun, if you find it informative, please do check those dates out, available on the UKHarvest website.
Brilliant. But big one, let us know what you learn, what you think, how you think it tastes. And if you do it, feel free, snap a photo of it, send it through to us at UKHarvest. And we want to see it. Sam, we've talked a lot now.
Let's get going.
Let's crack on. Get on and cook.
So this is one of our favorite recipes. But like most of the recipes that we work with at UKHarvest, we really encourage you to swap in and out. Before you go out shopping, shop your larder. This is a very flexible recipe. It has a lot of optional ingredients. And the reason for that is so that you can actually look at what you have, decide what is most available to you, what suits your budget, what suits your palate, what suits your dietaries. I know that today we've got quite a few people.
Yeah, we've got a few people
with some dietary requirements.
Non-dairy, no nuts, low salt, lactose intolerance. There's a lot of things that everybody has to think about when they're cooking. This dish pretty much hits.
It is possible,
everybody.
Yeah, exactly, to answer all of those different requirements within a recipe like this. If you just be creative with your thinking and certainly read those labels where you know and would be used to doing so. So to begin with, we're going to be making meatless meatballs with a pomodoro sauce and spaghetti. The first thing I'm going to do, and if you take a look down at my workstation here on the hob, I'm going to turn up my water, which I want it to be boiling before I put my pasta in. So I'm going to be going uppity up on that.
And you're bringing the water up now so that your pasta can cook at the same time as your meatballs and your sauce.
Yeah.
So it all comes together to make that family feast right at the end, right?
Absolutely. So the idea is, if you follow this kind of timing, certainly, as I'm going to mention throughout the practical and the recipe, putting it all together, there are options to do things at different times. Yep. But in order to bring this all together during our session with you today, we're going to start with putting on our water, bring it up to boil. As soon as I notice that that's ready, I shall be putting enough pasta for 4 people in the pot and get that cooking straight away.
And obviously, if you're at home and you're only cooking for a couple of you, just reduce the quantity.
Indeed.
You guys know how much anybody in your household eats.
Yeah.
In my household, we like our pasta. So even though there's only 3 of us, we'd probably cook enough.
Enough for more, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, and certainly, again, if you are using pasta and you want to really increase the nutritious content of your pasta, you could mix a brown or a whole meal, a whole wheat pasta with a white and do a combination. There are lots of other varieties, gluten-free pastas now available. And not all expensive, so it's good to experiment.
And I think that's one thing as well, when you go down the whole wheat pasta front, which is obviously a different set of carbs, starch to put into your body. the price difference of that whole wheat pasta isn't like other products that you find where you go, oh, well, I'll buy the gluten-free one and it costs you 3 times as much. Whole wheat pasta, great alternative, loads of fibre as well.
So speedy, very lucky. Hope the steam isn't getting in the way of the camera too much there, but I'm going to go ahead and put my pasta in. We'll just get rid of that. Thank you, Simon.
That's all right.
My calculations, usually for us, we do about 1/2 a packet of spaghetti would feed. You should normally, I think, a finger width of pasta, sort of a finger width of pasta, something like that would feed a family. So I'm going to take out what is about 1/2 the pack. You can sit it in whole and let it slide gradually into the saucepan, or if you want, you can crack it and put it in. It means all the pasta is directly into the hot water at the same time, so it should all come together. I've got a few utensils around to help me, and I'll just give that a little stir so I know that there isn't any sticking going on.
And I think that's a brilliant little tip. It's something that lots of people just go, all right, I've got to get pasta. They get the pan of water, they get their pasta stood up, they're slowly pushing it down and down and down and down. Hands getting really hot and everything else. Go careful, don't burn yourselves. That tip of just cracking that pasta in there, get the water to cover every strand of that pasta. It's all going to cook evenly. Brilliant tip. Brilliant.
So the next thing we're going to begin to do is to make our meatballs. So again, they're meatless meatballs. The reason for that, as we've said, really reduces the cost. It includes, therefore, other opportunities for different protein in the diet. We all know we should be trying to eat more plant-based proteins, good for the environment, good for our bodies. We absorb that protein really efficiently, really good for long-term health. So any effort that we can make to introduce those alternative proteins, really, really good. This is a recipe that's great for that. If you did have some mince that you wanted to use, you could combine that with some of these other ingredients. Again, I encourage you to be experimental, to be brave. Don't be restrained and held back by the content of the recipe. You do you. Put in there what you want. So
I think that's important. I mean, a lot of people we hear about, you've got to reduce your fat intake, you've got to reduce your red meat intake, you've got to bring your cholesterol down, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Simply reducing the amount of red meat that you put in your diet. So rather than making whole meatballs, if you were to replace half of the meat with the vegetable base that you're going to be using, you're bringing that down.
It really is.
And that is a real benefit, not only for your pocket, but for your health.
Yep, absolutely. So I have here a couple of versions of these types of things. Dehydrated stuffing or sausage mixes like these. Supermarkets have them in a variety of flavors. You can get apple and sage flavored ones. They may be called sausage mix or burger mix. They could be called stuffing mix. They are all very similar to one another. The one I'm going to use here is a stuffing mix, a traditional stuffing mix, but as I'm just showing you really for interest. Thanks, Simon.
No worries. And I think the good thing with this, you can get low salt.
You do get low. You can get low salt. They're obviously going to be, in this case, particularly meat and dairy free, so lactose free as well. But you can check out the content, and certainly by using them in minimum and bulking out with other proteins, you're really adding good. Thank you very much, Simon.
Just lift the lid off your
Thank you.
Let that it was bubbling everywhere.
So we're going to begin by adding our stuffing mix into our mixing bowl. Now, this is a dehydrated mixture, obviously, and part of the ingredients in this recipe for the meatless meatballs is going to add that moisture back in. So the first thing I'm going to do in order to add some protein, now these are chickpeas, first ingredient that's on our list. And chickpeas are a really versatile ingredient. I'm draining these. Hopefully you might be able to catch that if I pop it there on camera. I'm draining these and retaining the liquid.
Now that liquid's important.
It is, absolutely. Liquid from chickpeas specifically, but also from any other canned bean or jarred bean, or I'll just turn that down a little, I think. Any can that contains chickpeas or other beans has a really high protein content, so it's worth adding that back into your recipe if you can, but also acts as a sticking agent, a combining agent, and it will help to hold our meatballs together. So we're going to set that aside, that liquid, and I think we're going to use that.
Something worth thinking about that we do quite a lot here at UKHarvest. we try to use as much of the ingredient as we can.
Absolutely.
And we've made bologneses, we've made chilies, we've made everything, where literally the whole of that can, not just the lentils or the chickpeas or the beans, the whole of the can is going to go into that meal.
Yeah.
And as you say, that protein punch that gives you, superb.
Yeah.
The binding quality of it. So if you wanted to make these with meat, this is good. This juice will help bind
really help
everything together.
Absolutely.
Superb.
So I put my chickpeas in there all with my stuffing mix. I'm also going to add a can of lentils. The liquid I may use, because I might need slightly more liquid to add into this recipe, but for the moment I'm going to drain them to the side because I think that quite possibly, thank you Simon, I won't need that liquid. You could retain that liquid, use it if you're making a gravy or a pasta sauce or any other, thank you, requirement for a liquid in a savoury dish. That protein-packed liquid from a can of lentils, also really good to include in other recipes. And I'm going to add that straight in to my bowl as well. And you can see here that I've also got tomato puree. So I'm going to go in with the tomato puree as well. The recipe here calls for a tablespoon. So I'm going to definitely take that tablespoon. Again, I have made this recipe in a variety of settings. Sometimes I don't have tomato puree. I'm going to hang on to that because it's going into my tomato sauce too. I haven't had tomato puree. What I've had has sometimes been tomato ketchup or tomato sauce, a pasta sauce. And actually using any type of tomato paste like that is just as useful, brings that color, brings that flavor. So just beginning with a bit of a mix there. Before I get too stuck in the mixing and allowing that liquid to start being absorbed by the dehydrated sausage mix, I'm going to add a bit of flavour. I'm going to season these up. I think
what you said with the tomato puree is really important. How many times you go, oh, I need tomato puree for this recipe. Oh, I haven't got it. I won't cook it.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
If you've got a jar of ketchup, anything.
Yes.
Anything will bring that to it.
Yeah.
Ketchup slightly sweeter, but it brings the flavour and it brings the colour.
It does, and it gives you a bit more moisture. I'm going to go with a little chili powder in these meatballs. Yeah, it's a popular one. It actually having a little bit of piquant, a little bit of spice in those balls really sort of adds those flavour profiles.
Yeah. And again, this is where people can play and experiment.
Yeah, totally.
So if you don't want the chili, if you want to go herby, you go herby. If you want to go more down a curried route, you can, Cajun route,
cumin,
whatever.
And those kind of turmeric would bring out those curry flavors, or you could go more Mediterranean. I'm actually going to add mixed herbs as well, but you could go heavy on fresh herbs if you have any leftovers. This is a great love your leftover recipe as well. Superb. You can add raw vegetables into this mixture too. So you could think about maybe adding if you have half a courgette, a sad leftover half a courgette in your cupboard, you could think, right, I'm going to add him in, grate it up, put that in here. As I said,
bring it together.
Leftover leaf would be good. So you can see that with my mixing, what I'm actually doing is pushing with the back of the spoon to crush some of the chickpeas and the lentils.
But you still want some firm bite.
It's nice to have that texture too. Yeah, you can see that this liquid from the chickpea can, which is called aquafaba, it has some amazing properties. You can actually whisk that, and believe it or not, try it at home. It will turn into egg white. It will literally become white, solid, and can be used in baking.
You can make meringues with it.
This is why they call it nowadays the egg replacer. So certainly for people who aren't eating dairy or eggs, the juice from those chickpea pans has become a really useful and very versatile ingredient.
Do you want me to check?
Yeah, would you, Simon, check my pasta?
I'll check your pasta for you.
This process of mashing and adding liquids to just get that right meatball texture does take a little while, and it really is worth working it. It takes a while for the rehydration process to happen. So that dehydrated sausage or stuffing mix, or for us in our meatless meatballs, thank you. That rehydrating process does take a little time. So, this, if anything, is one of the more time-consuming parts of this recipe.
So if you were going to go in with beans and maybe put some of the mince that you've got left, or the half pack or whatever, would you think ever about just using water to bring this together?
Absolutely.
Or would you rely wholly and solely on the chickpea and the
Entirely
or the
up to you. From a nutritional point of view, if we can add any more good nutrients in,
which is in that jug,
that's the reason for doing it. But
fantastic.
if you actually only had a packet mix of stuffing mix or sausage mix equivalent in your larder, and you didn't have a tin of chickpeas, no worries, you can rehydrate. The instructions on the packet would tell you the quantity of water that you need to use with no other ingredient at all.
And I think, you know, let's break it down. If you've got a packet of stuffing mix in your cupboard, you've got a tin of baked beans in your cupboard, and you've got a little bit of something else in the bottom of the veg drawer in your fridge.
Lovely.
You can make these, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can make these. Just because it's on a recipe, you need this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. It's something that we're always talking about. We're always talking shop your cupboards. And in times that we're in at the moment, cost of living crisis, we don't want to be going out there and buying extra things that we don't necessarily need. Yeah. You can swap so many things for this recipe.
I actually made this recipe recently in one of our UKHarvest functions as a demonstration. And I used a tin of vegetable soup. It was like a big brothy soup.
Yep.
I scooped out a couple of spoonfuls of the vegetable. Again, the same principle with the liquid, full of nutrition, that vegetable stock. Great flavour, made absolutely lovely meatless meatballs.
And the best bit with that, the veg that was in that soup.
Yep.
That hearty soup.
Yep.
That veg is soft. It's ready to go.
Absolutely.
You can put it straight in there. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go, oh, well, I need to do this. Or I need to do that. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
You don't.
Let your mind go. Right, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I'm going to take your pasta off very quickly.
Thank you, Simon, my assistant, wonderfully keeping his eye on that pasta. Simon, you could just drain that for me and keep it to one side.
Yep,
meanwhile, I'm going to show you here. So we have the texture of a meatball / burger. I'm going in with my hands, which obviously I washed before I began. And the texture of your meatball mixture really will sort of dictate how easily you can form those balls. But you can see very straightforward, coming together really nicely. If I move that to one side, you might be able to see that a little better. I'm going to make these balls quite small. One thing I was going to pass on, a little tip to you. This mixture here, if you were to be balling and making up a whole, so you can see a whole load of balls.
I mean, that is going to make a lot of meatless meatballs.
And I'm not even going too small here. These are fairly good size.
So they're about the size of a golf ball.
Yeah,
for anybody that can't see or can't work out the scale on the screen, because I know that
some
of our overhead shots, even I worry and think about how big is that. So these are about the size of a golf ball.
Yeah.
You'll probably get 12 to 15. Do it a little bit lower. So
yep, sorry.
You're probably going to get 12 to 15 out of this, I'd have thought.
Yeah,
if not more.
If not more. And I mean, actually taking them down a little in size, it can be quite sweet on a portion to have maybe. It's always good when you're portioning up for one individual to have an odd number. I'm going to do 5 right now. Yeah, thank you very much for being very chefy.
Yeah, very chefy. Chefy's dealing odd numbers.
My tip would be that what you can do is continue to ball your ingredients. Ball your meatless meatball mixture, and when they're all formed and you have a whole tray ready of them, and I'm going to, Simon, if you would grab that bowl.
I'll grab that bowl.
Pass me over that baking sheet there that I prepared earlier.
Yeah, no worries.
What you could do, thank you ever so much, is to just line up all of your meatless meatballs on a tray like this. And if you were then to pop that in the freezer, as they are all laid out, they will freeze down perfectly like that. You can then put them in a Tupperware or in a plastic bag, a bag that you can leave.
And I think one thing to remember, we're saying put them on a tray, put them in a freezer. I understand not everybody's freezer is huge, but if you put them on a plate or whatever, they will freeze really, really quickly.
Absolutely.
And you can transfer them then either into a plastic container, into a bag, whatever you wish.
Yeah.
And they'll store in the freezer easily for 3 months.
Absolutely.
And they're there when you need them.
And they're really handy to then take out of the freezer, cook from frozen in a frying pan, as we're going to do today. But otherwise, you could put them in the oven on a baking tray like this, or you could put them in an air fryer if you have one. They're very flexible. They'll cook very quickly. So I'm going to use that tray again in a moment. Just going to quickly wipe my hands down. So I'm not making
Get yourself
too
clean.
much mess. Thank you.
So one thing that we're looking at with this It's versatile. You can use any beans that you want. It hits all the nutrition points. There's a load of protein in there. There's carbs in there. Look at an Eat Well guide. I don't know if anybody's ever seen one. We're going to send out with this video to all of those people who are participating and who have signed up today. We're going to send out some information around the Eat Well guide, what your plate should look like to make sure you hit all of the nutrition that you need in your body. But don't forget, this is a dish that's going to serve 4 people, and it's cost us around £3.50 to produce it.
Absolutely.
So it hits budget. You can get low salt alternatives, low fat alternatives. It's dairy free. It's nut free as long as you pick the right stuffing mix. It's nut free. Very low on the allergens. Helps with health and nutrition. Sian's washed her hands. She's back in the room.
I'm ready.
Get on.
Okay, so we've got our pasta pretty cooked already. Our meatless meatballs all good to go. What we're going to do is we're going to cook those off in a frying pan. Recipe calls for a couple of tablespoons of oil to cook them in. This could be a vegetable oil. If you have olive oil, you could even use a knob of margarine, whatever you have.
The spray oil, whatever you want.
Absolutely, whatever you're used to using or you have to hand in your kitchen. I'm just going to let that get a little bit warmer.
That'll come up quite quick.
Yeah, it comes up quite quick on
that
this.
that frying pan works well. That one gets warm quite quick.
Brilliant.
We've got another frying pan in this kitchen which you could put it on and you'd come back about 20 minutes later and it's still not very warm. But that one's okay. You're all right with that one.
So I'm going to start, just carefully dropping in my meatballs. Let's turn it up a little bit higher. Yeah, I can hear it starting to gently sizzle. Yep. Don't want anything too dramatic going on.
And I think that's something that a lot of people maybe forget. We don't need it to go in there and hiss at us straight away.
No.
Because if it hisses straight away, we're going to really brown and overcook that outside, and we're not going to get a consistent cook all the way through.
No.
So with the little sizzle in the background, tongs just to turn it over, keep your fingers safe.
Absolutely.
Looking superb.
Just letting those have a little coating in the oil so that I know that they're all going to have a touch of oil on the outside. I'm going to turn it down again now, so it's definitely nice and hot.
There we go.
And those are going to start to get a bit of colour on them straight away. Thank you.
It's all right.
And while those are cooking, and at any point, Simon, feel free to jump in over here and give them a little
this side,
jiggling them on the pan.
I'll come around this side whilst you prep your pomodoro sauce.
So we are going to do exactly that. So the ingredients for the pomodoro sauce we have here, I've got an onion. I'm going to use some garlic. I'm going to be adding some red pepper and some chopped tomatoes and some more of that tomato puree for real richness, and then I'll be seasoning it. While the meatballs are actually cooking through, we're going to prepare that sauce. So first of all, I'm going to cut my onion. I'm going to be using claw to keep my fingers well out of the way.
Keep your fingers safe.
We do each have different methods of doing this, I know, and certainly mine is perhaps not the best or the most chefy, but it works for me. And
is there a best? Is there a right way? I'm not sure that there is.
Still got
as long as your fingers are safe at the end of it, we're all good.
I'm going to go with the bridge and cut my 2 halves in half, then the bridge again. Just checking on that hot pan now. Might turn it down a little there, Simon. Nice bit of colour coming on them.
About 6.
That'd be great, thank you. And then I'm going to dice those onions to relatively small. Again, no real chefy stress pressure.
Now, are you looking for these to cook all the way through, or are we just looking to start the cooking process because they're going to go back in the sauce, or which way around?
Exactly that. Good point. What we're doing is we're getting some colour onto them, and as you can see, that's starting to build up nicely now.
It is looking fabulous.
Yeah, smelling good.
It is. Really that's why I've come this side, because I'm getting really hungry.
Really tasty smell already. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to cook those meatballs so that they've got pretty much cooked through, but still perhaps need some finishing off. I'm going to remove them from the pan when I'm happy with the colour on them and that they've done the majority of their cooking. And then I'm going to cook my tomato sauce in that pan.
So you're going to keep the flavour?
Absolutely. We won't be losing any of the flavour. We'll be keeping those nutrients and all that glazing coming off and into my sauce.
It is smelling good in this kitchen. I hope that if anybody is cooking along at home, it is smelling as good in your kitchen.
With yours, absolutely.
And I'm learning as well. We all learn all of the time when we're doing this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
A simple, easy way to use a stuffing mix for something that isn't stuffing.
And the thing about that, as we said at the beginning, is that stuffing mix, it seems to be one of those random objects for some reason many people will have in the back of their cupboards.
Well, you always buy it because your great auntie whatever's coming for something to eat. So you think, I've got to have stuffing mix because great auntie whatever always used to do stuffing on the Sunday roast. I remember years ago.
Yeah.
And then you start getting into making your Sunday roast for great auntie whatever and forget it's in the cupboard.
Absolutely. I've loaded my garlic crusher. If you don't have one, again, a rough chop on that garlic would be absolutely fine. So that's my onion and my garlic prepared. I'm now going to just prepare my red pepper. Again, UKHarvest, we're a food rescue charity. We focus constantly on reducing food waste. So if you can not peel and not waste any of your food ingredient, the better. So I'm just really going to take out as little as I can from this pepper and waste as little as possible. We have loads of tips on our YouTube channel and even more on our website about how to reduce food waste. Great tips about cutting back, not just reducing food waste, but reducing financial waste. Because if we're not throwing food away at home, then we're saving money. And if we can learn about how to save food, how to store food better, how to waste less,
I think that's it. It's all on the website.
Yep.
There's lots of additional content on the website about reducing food waste. It's about shopping savvy, about storing your food properly. A load to do with the Eat Well guide, how what you eat can change and alter your mood.
That's true.
Food is brilliant.
Yes.
Food is a must. We all got to eat.
Absolutely.
This is healthy. This is nutritious. This is super cheap.
It is.
And I think that they're cooked, chef.
They're looking great. They're looking really good. I've got my pepper diced. I've got my onion. And what I'm going to do, Simon, is pop those on that tray.
Okay.
And cool. Lovely. They can come out of the pan. They'll sit there beautifully. They've got a lovely bit of colour on them. You can see all that flavour.
Hopefully you can see that they've changed colour.
They have. They look lovely.
I'll leave you to decorate.
Brilliant. That smells great. I'm actually just going to begin with that other dash of oil into the pan. And I'll hold those off on there a moment while I add in the onion. Sizzling, but not too much so it's not burning. And then I grab a wooden receptacle, give that a little stir in the oil, let that begin to cook through.
I think it's important as well to recognise that we are a charity. We're a food rescue and education charity, and we work all over the UK in education. Work a lot in the south of England on food collection redistribution. Without people like Tesco Community Grants coming through to help their customers, which is what this is all about.
Absolutely.
To eat well, spend less. You know, without them coming through with that, we couldn't do what we do.
No.
So big up on that one to the Tesco's Community Grants team.
Absolutely.
This is a program that we started very, very gently about a year ago. It's something that's going to be carrying on for another 18 months probably into the future. We want to know what you want to see. So whether you use the contact us bit of the UKHarvest website, whether you put it in the comments on this YouTube stream now, whether you want to just randomly email one of the teams, I think all of our email addresses are on the website. Yeah. Go for it, because we want to know that what we're doing is what you want to see. So any way that we can help you guys eat better, spend less, we're there to help.
Absolutely.
And give us your feedback. We can only get better when we get feedback. Sorry, I'm stopping you.
No
crushing
problem.
your garlic.
No, perfect timing. So you can see my onions are looking a little bit clear. That's the sign that they're really starting to cook through, which is brilliant. I'm going to add in with this fabulous garlic crusher the garlic, and again, true to form, I don't want to be wasting any, so I'm going to let all of those fibrous bits, I'll just pop them on my board for a moment, give them a little chop through.
And as you said before, if you haven't got a garlic crusher, you can just chop it up, chuck it in.
Absolutely,
happy days.
Put that all back in. Oh, thank you, Simon.
It's all right, I'll get all of this ready for
doing my washing up. Lovely. And
I didn't say I was going to do it. I said I'd put it over there for the washing up.
No problem. I'm going to cook that garlic in just for a moment or two, which is perfect, happening beautifully. And then I'm going to add the red pepper. Now, the red pepper really is quite a fabulous ingredient in a pomodoro sauce, because it really does bring a sweetness and a depth of flavor, which red peppers do beautifully. But again, if you didn't have a red pepper and you only had a green pepper or a yellow pepper, or you had no pepper, you had a half a carrot, Grated carrot also gives off a really sweet.
It brings the sweetness, but it also gives you another texture on the palate.
Lovely texture. Yeah, exactly true. Absolutely.
And we don't only taste our food on flavour, we taste our food on texture.
Absolutely.
And the feeling of that food in our mouth. So this is such a good recipe to hit so many of those taste buds.
And I'm thinking at the moment about the options from a nutritional point of view. If you are somebody who is watching your salt content, you know, I added a little bit of seasoning into my meatballs. It is optional. You can leave that out. There will be seasoning in your sausage mix or your burger mix or your stuffing mix. Check those levels of salt. On the whole, additional salt is not an essential by any means, and we should all be really observing the amount of salt we're consuming.
And I think as well, a lot of people, IBS sufferers or people with gastric issues, onion and garlic can be spikes for that.
There are alternatives.
You can look at asafoetida powder. It is available in all the supermarkets. It's a root that gets ground up like a lot of other dried spices and herbs.
Absolutely.
But it's an onion and garlic replacer.
Yes.
It brings the flavour through. It doesn't give you the texture, but it gives you that flavour that you get from onion and garlic without the reflux, which is amazing. It's a life-changing thing for a lot of people with dietary issues.
That's true. Bearing that in mind, obviously, I'm mentioning the salt issue. I'm not going to add any more salt into this particular sauce. But again, taste as you go along. You may decide you want to add other things that can give that salty flavour. I'm going to add some mixed herbs into my sauce. The
kitchen essential.
As well, absolutely. A bit of flavour from those. Fresh herbs, always good too. If you're going to add fresh herbs, add some at the beginning when they're cooking through the sauce, and then perhaps even more at the end when you're serving. Always.
And I think that's a great tip.
Delicious.
That's a great tip. Yep. If you have got fresh herbs, they're amazing. They are so aromatic. They bring so much to your dish. If you're in a position where you can get them, brilliant. Don't add them all right at the very start.
Absolutely.
Because you'll get the flavour, but you kill off the herb. Add it gently as you go through, and add some very fresh right at the end. That is a superb tip.
Yep.
Works well on curries and things like that. Add some coriander at the start and a load in just before you're finishing cooking.
That's it. So I've got my base of my sauce cooking really nicely, all coming together, feeling really nice and soft and smelling gorgeous. I'm going to add my tin of chopped tomatoes. Now, again, if you didn't have chopped tomatoes, you only had whole plum tomatoes. They're very inexpensive. And they still crop up in the yellow sticker aisles.
Sticker stigma. Let's get rid of the sticker stigma.
Buy up those tins when you see them there.
A little bash is not going to hurt you.
Not in the slightest.
Even if you had fresh tomatoes.
Popping in that tin of tomatoes. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Giving that a quick stir. But also even fresh tomatoes. Again, here, be versatile, be brave. Use absolutely whatever you have to hand. Here I'm going to add another tablespoon of tomato puree. But again, if I didn't have that puree, I could certainly be adding a variety of other tomato flavorings.
You know the one that you get at the moment that you could use if you haven't got tomato puree?
Yeah, what's that?
It's the summer. People have friends round. People have the treats with the family. You get your bag of nachos. Yes. And your salsa dip.
Jar of salsa.
And you never go through all that salsa dip.
No, you don't.
And then you put that jar of salsa or pot of salsa back in the fridge. And you think, I'll get to that.
Absolutely.
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
And then you come back and throw it away because it's growing.
Right.
Bang it in the sauce.
Yeah, absolutely. They always go in a pasta sauce, in a chili, even in a curry, in anything that you want that sort of rich tomato flavor. Yeah, all of those ingredients have a very similar effect.
So if you are going to cook this dish, and we say shop your cupboards first, shop your cupboards, shop your fridge. Do I need to buy it? Look to see what you can swap.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many swaps with any form of cooking that's got a sauce. You can swap so much.
Absolutely.
So much.
So I'm really happy that my sauce has come together.
It smells
smelling good. Looks really appropriate. It's just looking like that tomato-rich pomodoro sauce. We've got our pasta ready and we've got our meatballs. So I'm going to bring in my meatballs first. Thank you very much, Assistant Simon.
Bring in the meatballs.
In come the meatballs. And I am going to gently sit them back in the tomato sauce just so that they can heat through while I then, thank you very much indeed, get my pasta at the ready. Just going to really sort of snuggle those meatballs into that pasta sauce. Lovely. Thank you so much, assistant bringing me. I've got a plate over here and I've got a little
there was me trying to find you another plate because I couldn't see over onto that side of the thing.
Simon.
You're all over it. You're all over it. You don't need me.
No, it's all great. Thank you so much. So I've got a plate at the ready over here. I'll bring that in a second. Here is my pasta from earlier, which I will tom about a bit. Another tip with pasta, if you are cooking it ahead, can be to drizzle just the lightest amount of oil onto it, even in service. So even when you're about to put it on the plate, really just helps to keep it all nice and silky soft and slippery, as we all like our pasta to be.
Do you want me to get some boiling water over it just to refresh it?
I'm fine. I'm going to put a little drizzle of olive oil when I'm on the plate.
Okay.
But this is all the elements that we need. I'm going to take the pasta to one side there.
Let me clear you some space.
Thank you very much. All good there. I'm going to bring in a lovely clean plate that I'm going to use. So I am going to put a lovely healthy portion for one. So again, we've cooked enough pasta here
for a lot of people
to feed a quite a hungry crew. And but I think that is absolutely ample.
But at the end of the day, these guys at home only see you and me. They don't see the other people, the other side of these cameras,
everyone else,
who are looking at us going, yeah, it does smell good. Yes, I am hungry. Don't forget me.
Absolutely tiny drizzle of olive oil just to loosen it up and to give that silkiness to it as well. Done with that. So the rest of the pasta would be served up for everyone here.
Yeah, I'm going to go and try and keep it away from the marauding birds.
While I am just going to turn that off because I think we're good there. And hold my finger on there. Lovely, lovely. So what I'm going to do to serve, as you can see, I could have many more meatballs in this portion, this quantity of tomato pomodoro sauce. This is enough certainly for 4 people, but I'm going to just use some of it here to plate up for one. Get a nice amount of sauce on. And I
think this is the thing. If you want it so that the sauce is running through everything, and you've got that extra, maybe an extra tin of chopped tomatoes, or even just some water, just to thin it down and loosen it just that little bit.
Absolutely.
It all works. You're going to keep the flavour. You're going to keep the textures.
Certainly you can.
This is good intense on flavour.
The beautiful thing about making food for yourself, as we all hopefully are trying more and more to do, is that you do you make it how you like and with the quantities or the consistency that you like. For me, that looks amazing.
I reckon that is a portion. I know you were saying it was for one, but I reckon that the size of those meatballs and the sauce that you've put on and the hearty lot of spaghetti, I think that is
an ample portion. That
is a portion for dinner tonight.
Certainly. I've got some dairy-free cheese here. Again, check for your other requirements, but a regular Parmesan or a cheddar or whatever you like.
So this is just grated vegan cheese. This is really
just grated vegan cheddar cheese. I'm just going to use that to serve.
Look at that. Let's get this out of the way because I want you.
Thank you very much.
I want your plate to be able to go in the middle and actually give it that proper shape.
And I hope you can see that nice and clearly. So that is UKHarvest, supported by Tesco's Community Grant Fund, and a fabulous meatless meatballs with pomodoro spaghetti for your very enjoyment.
And that is fabulous.
Thank you.
Sian, you've smashed it.
Thank you.
For less than £3.50 to feed a family of 4.
Question.
We've managed to cook it, taking everybody at home through it. I'm looking at the clock. In 38 minutes from start to finish.
Voila.
Dinner on the table, midweek feast, full of flavour, full of vital nutrient, saving my pocket, saving my body.
Absolutely.
Folks, I hope you've enjoyed cooking along with Sian today. I certainly have. I've learnt a few little things along the lines of what you can do with a packet mix of stuffing, what else you can add to it. Don't just pour that juice away out of that can of chickpeas or beans or anything else.
No.
If you've learned anything, just stick it in the comments box. We love to hear people that have actually learned something or picked up a tip or a hint or a thought along the way.
Anything else that you might like to learn next time. As Simon said earlier, your feedback really does count. So if you can send us any comments or feedback, things you'd like us to cover in future cook-alongs, stuff that you really are interested to try more of, let us know. We really want to hear that, and we will definitely.
Your voice is heard.
Absolutely.
Your voice is heard. Most definitely. We want to know what you want. We can only be successful if we know what you guys like, what you guys want to learn, what you guys want to know. We're going to send this video out to everybody that's signed up for it. We're going to talk about the Eat Well guide with some supporting material. Check out the website. Come here, get in this shot as well. We've enjoyed being with you today.
So
we hope you've enjoyed it, and keep your eyes peeled for when we do the next one.
see you again soon.
See you soon.
Take
Bye
care.
for now.
Thank you. Bye.